Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going on a bit of a trip.
Oh,
We're going to India
okay.
in 2025.
Yeah.
We've got a copy of the Economic Times from January 9th.
Wow.
It's fascinating. It's like a time capsule of business and the economy.
I can imagine.
We've got digital marketing going wild.
Mm-hmm.
Quick commerce is heating up.
Interesting.
And there are even whispers of Elon Musk
Really?
getting into the Indian soccer scene.
Wow.
So buckle up,
Okay.
because we're about to uncover what this snapshot of the Indian market means for you.
It is striking how India is carving its own path,
Oh, yeah.
especially with technology like AI and
Right.
manufacturing. The newspaper really captures that energy, the
Yeah,
opportunities
For sure.
and the hurdles they're facing.
Exactly. There's a ton to unpack.
Okay.
So let's start with this e-commerce boom.
All right.
The ET e-commerce index
Yeah.
is actually outpacing the Nifty 50.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
It is.
But then we've got WhatsApp with like 500 million users in India
Huge.
and a new player
Oh.
called Whatnot
Yeah.
shaking up live stream shopping.
Interesting.
Almost overwhelming.
I mean, it is a gold rush, but with a twist.
How so?
Well, think about it this way. Whatnot's being described as Instagram meets eBay, which tells you a lot about how they're grabbing attention.
Yeah.
They've snagged almost $265 million in funding
Wow.
and are valued at almost $5 billion.
It's a lot.
That's serious money, especially when you see sellers like Shoe Game Co.
Okay.
making $6 million on their platform
Oh, wow.
in a year.
In a year. That's impressive. But I'm also seeing some red flags.
Oh, like what?
Well, digital marketing costs are soaring.
Right.
There's this startup cash rich,
Okay.
and they're seeing bidding rates like double on platforms like Google Play.
Ouch.
That's got to hurt.
Right, and the regulatory crackdown on affiliate marketing isn't helping.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Now businesses are scrambling for app downloads.
Yeah.
Which are way more expensive.
Sure.
It's a whole new ballgame if you're trying to reach customers online in India. So for you listening, this means keeping an eye on these trends. Diversification is key.
That's for sure.
Ah.
Okay, let's move on to this quick commerce battle.
Right.
Amazon's diving in headfirst with Tez.
Tez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super fast deliveries, dark stores.
Interesting.
They're even doing employee testing in Bengaluru,
Huh.
just like Tata and Reliance did with their quick commerce ventures.
It's fascinating how they're all using this strategy.
Yeah.
Testing with employees lets you get feedback and smooth out the kinks before you go live. But it also makes you wonder, does it really reflect what real customers are going to want?
Exactly. And you've got Flipkart expanding their Flipkart Minute service.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a race to see who can deliver the fastest.
I see.
Do you think this is something that would appeal to you? I mean, would you want groceries at your doorstep in minutes?
I mean, it's definitely convenient.
Yeah.
But there are trade-offs to consider.
Like what?
Well, speed often comes at a cost, both financially
Yeah.
and potentially environmentally.
Interesting.
It's something to think about as this battle plays out.
Totally. Now, speaking of big players, Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, just visited India. He signed a big deal with India AI
Okay.
to boost artificial intelligence,
Wow.
which is huge.
And his perspective on India's AI strategy is really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
He's not just saying build everything from scratch. He's
Right.
talking about finding a balance,
Okay.
developing homegrown AI while leveraging existing models.
Interesting.
Is practicing what he preaches, too.
Oh, really?
Microsoft is using AI to become more efficient internally,
How so?
saving them 10–15% on every single budget item.
Wow.
Year after year.
That's amazing.
That kind of impact is mind-blowing.
It is.
Imagine what that could do for your business or industry.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Where could AI make the biggest difference in your work?
absolutely.
It's not just about the technology.
Well,
It's about how we adapt and use it.
that's a great point.
This actually leads perfectly into the next topic.
Oh,
Indian talent is becoming a major force globally.
okay.
IBM is actually focusing on grooming Indian professionals for leadership roles worldwide.
It's like a reverse migration.
How so?
Instead of Indian talent going abroad,
Yeah.
global companies are recognizing the leadership potential right here in India.
Interesting.
An IBM executive even said they haven't sent anyone to India on assignment
Wow.
in the past 3 years
Really?
because they already have the best people right there.
That's a huge vote of confidence.
Mm.
So What do you think? Is this a wave of opportunity, or are there challenges that come with this shift?
It's definitely something to watch closely, especially if you're in the tech sector. There's a lot of potential for growth and innovation, and also potential for disruption as the landscape changes.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about investments.
Right.
The Economic Times mentions this nano-cap stock frenzy.
Nano-caps.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are tiny companies, but investors are pouring in, increasing their holdings eightfold.
That's a lot.
It's a high-risk, high-reward scenario.
I see.
Nano-cap stocks can skyrocket,
Right.
but they can also crash and burn quickly.
Yeah.
The thing is, these companies are often less established.
For sure.
So it's a gamble. Would you ever consider investing in something like that?
I think for me, it would depend on my risk tolerance
Yeah.
and how much research I was willing to do.
Right.
But it's definitely an interesting trend.
Now, let's not forget about the regulators.
Oh.
They're always keeping things interesting. Ola Electric just got a warning from SEBI for sharing expansion plans on social media before officially notifying the stock exchanges.
Interesting.
It's a reminder that even in the age of instant communication, rules still matter.
They do.
Transparency and fairness are key.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're talking about publicly traded companies.
Right.
And speaking of global forces, the rupee is hitting record lows against the dollar.
Oh, wow.
The RBI is trying to stabilize things.
Yeah.
But it's a tough situation.
It is. It's a reminder that the Indian market is part of a much bigger picture. Global economic trends, trade deficits.
Yeah.
It all plays a role.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
And we're just getting started.
Really?
It seems like every page of this newspaper has another fascinating story to tell.
Wow.
We'll have to continue this deep dive in part 2.
Ready to dive back into the Economic Times?
Absolutely. I'm still flipping through this newspaper.
Okay.
And one thing that really caught my eye is this article about India's handset makers.
Okay.
They're only operating at 50% capacity.
Wow.
That's a huge gap.
It's a reality check, you know, especially with all the government efforts to boost local manufacturing through that production-linked incentive scheme. They've actually exceeded their investment target.
Oh, wow.
Bringing in over 9,100 crore.
Okay.
But weak demand globally and at home is causing this overcapacity.
It's like they built the factory, but the customers aren't showing up.
Right.
The article mentions that companies focusing on exports and participating in the PLI scheme are doing better.
Okay.
But smaller players are struggling.
I see.
Some are even getting creative.
Oh.
And using their assembly lines to make other things.
Like what?
Like telecom equipment.
Ah.
Talk about adapting.
Resourcefulness is key, right? That reminds me of this other article about private credit stepping in to fill the gap left by traditional banks.
Interesting.
It's fascinating to see this shift happening.
Yeah.
Private credit assets under management grew by 30% year on year. Okay. Reaching $25 billion in 2024.
And banks are dealing with a widening deposit credit gap.
Right.
Hitting a ratio of 75.98% as of December 13th, 2024.
Wow.
So private credit is becoming this lifeline for businesses who can't get traditional loans.
Right. The article gave this great example of Infinity FinCorp.
Okay.
And NBFC. They focus on microloans to small businesses. Okay. And just secured $15 million in funding.
Wow.
Putting their valuation at $150 million.
It's amazing who they're reaching.
Oh, yeah.
Shop owners, skilled blue-collar workers.
Okay.
Even dairy farmers.
Wow.
It shows you how diverse the need is for alternative financing.
Yeah.
Especially when traditional banks are hesitant in certain sectors.
Makes you wonder what kind of ripple effect this will have on the financial landscape in India.
Okay, let's switch gears again.
To what?
Energy.
Right.
The government is reassessing its power generation capacity for the next couple of years.
They're laser focused on meeting that peak power demand. Which is projected to be a whopping 270 gigawatts in fiscal year 2026.
And here's the kicker.
What's that?
Solar and non-solar hours have different peak demands.
Interesting.
It sounds like meeting that non-solar peak demand is the real challenge.
I see.
They're exploring everything from thermal and nuclear energy to using those idle gas-based power plants.
Okay.
Even Battery energy storage and pump storage systems are on the table.
It's a complex puzzle for sure.
Yeah.
Balancing energy security
Right.
with environmental concerns
Sure.
and figuring out how to integrate renewable energy effectively.
Yeah.
Not an easy task.
Now, on a completely different energy note,
Okay.
there's this article about Nayara Energy making a huge investment.
Oh, yeah. How much?
We're talking $8 billion
Wow.
to set up this massive ethane cracker at their refinery in Gujarat.
That's a game changer.
It is.
Ethane crackers basically break down hydrocarbons into ethylene, which is used to make plastics, adhesives, all sorts of things.
Right.
India currently imports a lot of its petrochemical intermediates.
Yeah. So this is a big step towards self-reliance.
Plus, it aligns with the government's vision of making India a major player in the global petrochemical market.
Interesting.
By 2040, that market is expected to reach $1 trillion.
Wow.
That's a lot of zeros.
Talk about opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for another shift?
Sure.
This next article caught my attention.
Okay.
Because it talks about a decline in the registration of new insolvency professionals since its peak back in 2017-18.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You'd think with all this economic activity, you'd need more professionals to
Right.
deal with any financial distress.
Exactly. Right now, there are around 4,425 active professionals,
Okay.
which sounds like a lot, but
What?
the concern is what happens if bad loans start piling up again.
Yeah.
Will there be enough skilled professionals to handle things efficiently
Right.
and keep the financial system stable?
Good question.
It's a question worth pondering.
Definitely. Okay, let's end this section on a positive note.
There's an article about the launch of the Jammu-Srinagar-Vande Bharat Express.
Oh, cool.
It's the first train service connecting Jammu and Kashmir.
Wow.
What a milestone.
It's a testament to that infrastructure push we were talking about earlier.
Yeah?
That Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla rail link was a massive undertaking.
It was.
Costing about 40,000 crore.
And it's not just about connecting the region.
No.
Think about the boost to tourism and economic activity.
Right.
It's opening up opportunities for residents and businesses.
That's what I call a win-win.
It really shows how infrastructure can transform a region, bringing people together and creating new possibilities.
Speaking of possibilities, what do you think about these recommendations from the Confederation of Indian Industry for the upcoming budget?
Oh, yeah. Their president, Sanjeev Puri,
Right.
is advocating for a 25% increase in government capital expenditure.
Okay.
He's also pushing for personal income tax relief and measures to promote manufacturing and integrate local industries into global value chains.
Ambitious, right.
Yeah.
But he's also urging caution with fiscal consolidation.
Okay.
He doesn't want to see any sharp compressions that could scare off investors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a delicate balance.
He's got a point, though.
Yeah.
Even with projected GDP growth at a 4-year low of 6.4%,
Okay.
for fiscal year 2025, he's still optimistic.
Good.
The CII expects growth to rebound to 7% in fiscal year 2026.
It's a reminder that even amidst global economic uncertainty,
Right.
India is showing resilience.
Yeah. Now, have you seen this article about India's Digital India Stack becoming a model for other nations?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is. Think about the Unified Payments Interface, or UPI.
Right.
It's revolutionized how people make payments in India.
It has.
In October 2024 alone,
Yeah.
it processed a staggering euro 23.49 lakh crore
Wow.
across 16.58 billion transactions.
It's empowering everyone from small businesses to street vendors.
It is. And then there's Digiatra,
Oh, yeah.
which has made air travel so much smoother. How so?
No more paper boarding passes.
Okay.
Just contactless processing.
Interesting.
It's saving time, reducing hassle,
Yeah.
and it's more sustainable.
It's a great example of how technology can really improve lives.
It is.
And the adoption of eSIMs, while still in its early stages,
Yeah.
could further streamline connectivity.
Okay.
Plus, there's the rise of robotic process automation, or RPA.
Right.
It's automating repetitive tasks, freeing up human workers to focus on more strategic things.
It's not about replacing humans.
No.
It's about augmenting their capabilities.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is especially relevant in sectors like banking, insurance, and healthcare,
Yeah.
where accuracy and efficiency are crucial.
Exactly. This whole shift towards AI-driven automation and digitization is creating intangible benefits, too.
Like what?
Think about those zero-touch processes.
Oh, okay.
They're making things smoother, faster, and more cost-effective.
That's like a whole new way of doing business.
It is, and it's happening right now.
There's so much more to explore in this newspaper.
Yeah.
But I think we've hit a good stopping point for part 2.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground, from manufacturing struggles to the rise of private credit, from energy challenges to the potential of India's digital innovations.
I'm ready for a break, but I'm also eager to see what part 3 holds. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're in the final stretch of our journey through the economic times.
Okay.
Exploring India's business and economic landscape in 2025, ready to tackle some of the more complex issues.
Absolutely. We've got regulatory battles, geopolitical tensions, even some media shakeups to discuss.
Okay.
Let's dive right in.
All right.
This article about the Competition Commission of India.
The CCI.
Yeah. And Google caught my eye.
Okay.
They're locked in this battle over Google's Play Store policies.
It's about control, right?
Yeah.
The CCI is saying that Google forcing app developers to use its billing system and charging those hefty fees, 10–30% on app purchases,
huge,
is stifling competition.
Exactly. Google did introduce an alternative billing system after a CCI order. But the fees are still high.
Right.
The CCI argues that allowing developers to use other payment processors with lower fees,
like what?
Maybe around 1%, would let them invest more in better content and technology.
Right.
It's about giving those developers a fighting chance.
It makes you wonder, how much power should these tech giants have?
It's a good question.
The CCI is saying that even if a company hasn't been driven out of business, the potential for competition to be eroded by a dominant player is a real concern.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's a complex issue for sure.
It is.
It's about finding that balance between innovation and fair play.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
To what?
And talk about the Tata Group.
Okay.
Their venture capital arm, Tata Capital, just led a 170 crore investment in Harsoria Healthcare, a medical consumables manufacturer.
Interesting.
It's a smart move, especially with healthcare being such a hot sector.
Yes.
This investment will help Harsoria ramp up their manufacturing. Develop new products like blood collection needles and pre-filled syringes. And really solidify their position in the medical devices market.
It's also a signal to other institutional investors that India's healthcare sector is worth paying attention to.
Now let's talk about China for a moment. They're raising import taxes on fuel oil to support their domestic refining sector.
It's a way to protect their own industry, right?
Yeah.
But it also shows how interconnected everything is, this tax hike. Along with those reduced tax rebates on fuel oil shipments they put in place last October, will have ripple effects throughout the global energy market.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
China's also trying to boost domestic consumption. To counter those headwinds they're facing with exports, they're offering a 15% subsidy on new mobile phones, tablets, and smartwatches priced under 6,000 yuan.
Wow.
They're also increasing funding for industrial equipment upgrades.
It's almost like they're playing chess. Making strategic moves to manage their economy amidst all this global uncertainty.
Speaking of uncertainty, did you see this article about Donald Trump? His recent comments about potentially acquiring the Panama Canal in Greenland have caused quite a stir.
Talk about bold statements. He also suggested turning Canada into a U.S. state. And called for increased defense spending from NATO allies.
Wow.
It sparked rebuttals from leaders around the world.
I could imagine.
And even impacted share prices. Shares of renewable energy companies actually fell after he said he wouldn't allow the construction of wind farms during a potential second term.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, defense stocks surged following his call for increased NATO spending.
It's fascinating to see how political rhetoric can have such a tangible impact on global markets.
It is. Speaking of impact, this article about the California wildfires is a sobering reminder of the very real threat of climate change.
It's devastating.
It is.
These fires, fueled by warmer temperatures, strong winds, and a prolonged drought, have caused widespread damage, forcing evacuations and disrupting lives.
For sure.
It's a stark warning about the need for preparedness and the urgency of addressing climate change.
It's a global challenge that demands collective action.
For sure.
And a shift towards more sustainable practices.
Now, before we wrap up, let's indulge in a bit of speculation. Have you heard about Elon Musk potentially buying the English football club Liverpool?
I saw that. Apparently, his father, Errol Musk, hinted at his son's interest.
Okay.
While Liverpool's current owners haven't said they're selling,
Right.
the possibility has definitely sent fans into a frenzy.
I bet Liverpool is having a stellar season,
They are.
topping both the Premier League and Champions League tables.
Wow.
Knowing Elon Musk's penchant for ambitious ventures,
Right.
this can be an interesting development to watch.
It would certainly shake things up.
Well, it seems we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Economic Times from January 9th, 2025.
Wow.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From booming e-commerce to regulatory crackdowns, from global power plays to the ever-present threat of climate change.
It's been a whirlwind tour of India's economic and business landscape.
It has.
But more importantly, it's sparked a lot of questions
and
potential avenues for further exploration.
Exactly. What stood out to you the most? What sparked your curiosity? What will you research further?
Good questions.
Remember, this newspaper is just the beginning.
Right.
There's a whole world of knowledge out there waiting to be discovered.
Right.